Hi everyone, this is the Music Corner again on my channel Real World Audio, and this time this is about a little bit of community engagement. So I was checking out John DeVore's video, and he says that there's a vinyl community challenge, some favorite and obscure records, and he is basically saying that there is a channel, Tone Scott. I never heard of this channel before, but I checked it out, and he is posting a lot of stuff on new music, on records. He is a vinylophile, very few subscribers, like a tiny channel like mine. I like to support such new initiatives. He's a young guy, so that's fantastic. So thank you, Scott, for being a vinylophile and sharing what you find with us. So John shared his 7 records, and I thought that I will share my my 7 records with you as well. So I just was browsing through my records and just got out 7 almost random ones, and let's see what they are. I cannot guarantee that no one ever reviewed them, because I have no idea what the music community online is and what they reviewed and what they did not, but it's guaranteed that I picked some records which are not, how to say, very common. So let's check out our first record, and that is Glier, the composer named Glier, and Ilya Muromets. That's the title of his work, which is his Symphony Number 3, and the label on which it is called Unicorn. So this is rare as a real life unicorn, and in fact this is, I would say, like a relatively rare label, but when you find one, do get it, because all of their recordings are really superb. And this one is a digital recording, so that puts a little bit of a damper on the things. It doesn't sound nearly as good as their analog recordings, but here comes a big but. This digital recording, check this out, you will never ever believe it, was done in 1979. And why is that such a big thing? Because check this out, the first CD ever released, the first compact disc ever released, was released in October 1st, 82. 3 years after this LP was released. So here we are looking at a rarity, which is a record, but recorded in a PCM digital 3 years before CDs came out. So I think that by itself classifies as a rarity. And if you look at the cover, if you can see something, yeah, it's totally epic. So there's this dude sitting on a war horse, like all muscled up. It's really intense. So, and then this music, when you listen to it, it's really like a Dungeons and Dragons music. So when you look at what's going on here, it starts with wandering pilgrims, and then they meet the brigand. The road is slippery, left road is bared, so totally Dungeons and Dragons stuff happening. And then they see the festival at the Palace of the Prince. Heroic deeds and petrification is just totally it's going nuts on the imagery. And really, if you play Dungeons and Dragons and you are in need of inspiration, this is totally bonkers, and it will give you all the inspiration you want for your fantasy games. And just reflecting on its sonic qualities, I always make some notes on my records. So this is of the standard RAAA curve. My tongue gets in a twist. So the standard RAAA. RIAA. Okay, I'm sorry. I just cannot speak at the moment. I have some difficulties. So anyway, it can be played from with a standard phono setting, and it has a very spacious, big sound, super duper quiet. It's like listening to a CD, but it has the same problem as the early digital recordings had and the Redbook CDs have, is that there is no super low level detail. So all those tiny ambient cues are missing from the recording. But you also get the impression that it's extremely quiet, and there's not a hiss, not a pop, nothing there. It's like dead quiet. And you have zero clues that you are not listening to a CD. So with those recommendations, here was my first contender for this contest. The second one is a work by the Grandmaster. So I really hope that everyone is getting familiar with Dietrich Buxtehude, and he was the Grandmaster of organ, and he was inspiration to both Bach, Handel, and I would say just about every organist in the world. He's just a phenomenal musician, and there are tons of anecdotes about his life. For example, at the time when he was the organist, he was the organist of a cathedral, and of course at that time that was like a lifetime position, and the successor of the organist had to marry the organist's daughter. So you literally had to marry into his family to get a position. And that tradition worked until Dietrich Buxtehude. However, even though he was the most talented organist ever, but he had a horrendously ugly daughter. And he was not successful in finding a worthy student, because everyone was scared away, because no one wanted to marry Maestro Buxtehude's daughter. So eventually they had to erase that tradition. So that's why from Buxtehude's time on, the organist doesn't have to marry the daughter of the organist. So that's something interesting. But what is much more interesting is this recording, because as you can find out, if you have a good system that resolves in the bass, that goes down to the deep registers, to the sub bass, that on most LP recordings of organs there is no sub bass there. However, but also that gives rise to the misbelief that there's no material below 40 Hz on LPs. That is not correct. The amount of sub 40 Hz material on LPs is strictly up to the mastering process. I will talk about that later on,